Blog Talk Radio.
Michiamo Afurakani Afuraitkaitnit Neye ODWIRA Medinde Odwirafo Kwesi Nehem Ptah Akhan Akwamuman Amaruka Atifi ODWIRAFO. That means greetings to all Afurakani Afuraitkaitnit people, meaning Africans, black people. Today is ODWIRA Day. My name is Odwirafo Kwesi Nehem Ptah Akhan, Odwirafo of the Akwamu nation in North America. Yet I say we thank you for tuning in to this broadcast. Couple of announcements. As usual, we have 3 weekly shows for the new people. 3 weekly shows. Jorda, Mondays is Akanfo Nanason, Ancient, Authentic, Akhan, Ancestral Religion. Then we also have, of course, today is ODWIRA, Purification. And then we also have Egua Marketplace Day, which is on Akhuamuman Wednesdays, all at 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes, of course, we go into a little bit of overtime. We're going to send out a message right quick, let everybody know we're broadcasting. What we're going to do is we're also going to post some links. The first link you can go to is the OKRA complex, the soul of Akanfo. You can go there. That's our publication. We're going to touch on that publication tonight, and then we're also going to post a specific link to the text dealing with the dialogue of a man with his ba. We're going to post that link as well. But the first link, Odwirafo.com, ODWIRA, F as in free, O.com, and then go to the NHOMA page, the publications page, and there you'll find the OKRA complex book, The Soul of Akanfo. Of course, you can download that book, the free ebook version of the text. We also have the softcover version as well, but all of our books are free downloads from the website. So first go to that specific link, and what we're going to do is we're going to post a link in the chat room right now for a specific version of the text that we're dealing with regard to the dialogue of a man with his ba, with his spirit. Sometimes people translate that as soul, but spirit. We're going to post that link right now in the chat room. There are many different translations, and sometimes they call it a dispute, the dispute of a man with his ba, dialogue of a man with his ba, and so forth. So this particular translation, the reason why we're using this one is simply because, and this is just across the board, if you're looking for something, a translation of a text from ancient Kamit, it's best if you can find something that has a transliteration as well as the translation. So therefore, you can see the entire text written in the language of ancient Kamit, the transliteration of the Medutu, of the hieroglyphs, into the language of Kamit itself, and then you can see the translation of that as well. So in this particular one, we have the transliteration and the translation. So you find the language itself of ancient Kamit, and then you'll find on one line, and then under that line, you'll find the English translation. The reason why that's the best way to go, of course, is because you can use specific text. For example, Let the Ancestors Speak by Brother Ankh-Mi-Ra, which is a language course in studying the Medutu, the Meduten Torah. So often people say Medu Necher, but the Meduten Torah, the so-called hieroglyphics, the language itself, and the symbols and so forth. You can learn to read and write the language through studying that brother's book. And there are other individuals who have published. Dr. Reketi Amin has published work, of course, has classes and so forth. So, there are a number of people who are teaching the language of ancient Kamit. So if you can find a transliteration, and very often just searching online, you can find transliterations of these texts, the transliteration and the translation. So therefore, you can get a text written by one of our people that teaches the reading and the writing of the language. So you can do transliterations yourself and you can confirm these things. But even more importantly, not only will you be able to do that, but you can take one of the contemporary languages, one or more of the contemporary languages of AFURAKA, AFURAITKAIT, of Africa today, and make those comparisons and verifications. You can verify the proper words, their connotations. You can also verify the vocalizations of these terms. We use, for example, the Akhan language, the tree language of the Akhan people, of course, because we are Akhan, but we also can use other languages as well to confirm what these words mean, how they're vocalized, and the proper context that they're used in, because we still speak the language which is derivative of the language of ancient Kamit, Nubia, ancient Kamit, so-called Egypt. That's true of the Akhan people, Yoruba, Ebe people all across the continent, the Bakongo, Dogon, all across the continent. We're speaking direct descendants of that ancient language. When we talk about the ancient language, we're basing that on what our own ancestresses and ancestors put forward for us. For example, in the papyrus that they call the Papyrus of Turin, they talk about the so-called king's list in that papyrus. And it doesn't just begin with Minna of the first dynasty. Prior to Minna, they talk about the dynasty of the Abosom, of the Ntoru, the divinities. They also talk about the Shemsu, Heru, the followers of Heru, the dynasties. They also talk about the venerable elders and eldresses, the Akutu, and so forth. Dynasties, divine dynasties before the first dynasty of Minna, the reunion really of the two lands, of the north and south. And they actually date it in the papyrus. So this is written by our own ancestresses and ancestors. When you look at the dates that they write, the length of the divine dynasties prior to Minna, and you calculate that, and they lay it out. They talk about the reign, 23,000 years, and then 13,000 years reign, and then up before Minna, which when you calculate it all together, it's over 42,000 years ago when they talk about the foundation of civilization in Kemet with regard to the establishment of a governmental structure governed by the Ntoru, the divinities, meaning when our people, kings, queen mothers, elders, eldresses, go to the Abosom, go to the Orisha, go to the Vodou, and with regard to oracular divination, get direction from them. When they get those directives from them through divination, through communication, then they lay out those directives to the population. Therefore, the deities are ruling. Whether a divinity possesses someone during ritual dance or ritual song or other ritual practices, or if they're, again, through divination in various forms, manifesting themselves in various forms, and communicate the directives that will be the foundation of the governmental structure, and the people take heed to that, apply it to their life situations, and establish a protocol. The Ntoru are actually ruling. These are the divine dynasties. So we're talking about 42,000+ years ago. And of course, they were speaking at that time, speaking the same language. And they talk about Tahuti establishing language and teaching writing and teaching science. And the same with Seshat and so forth. They're talking about us communicating, being possessed by the Abosom, communicating with them via various forms of Nkom, spiritual communication, Akum, possession, getting that information and using that information to establish the society in the form that we transmitted intergenerationally. So when we talk about that ancient language, the Akhan, Yoruba, Ebe, Igbo, Bambara, Fang, Lotsi, all these various languages are descended directly from that parent language. So therefore, we can look in these various languages today and find the exact same words that you find in the hieroglyphic dictionary, the same multi-layered, multi-tiered definitions of these terms intact and in place and so forth. And you'll find the names and descriptive titles of the deities still intact, the exact same names, the exact same descriptive titles, sacred colors, aspects of creation that they govern, and so forth, the names of the ancestresses and ancestors and so forth in the languages today. So that's engaging the practice of ancestral religion, invoking the same abosom that are talked about in these texts. We still invoke them in hoodoo today, in voodoo, vodun, in juju, in the southeastern United States, in north, west, east, central United States, wherever we are, in the Caribbean, in South America, and of course, on the continent, we still deal with these abosom, these orisha, these voodoo, these ntorotu, these arusi, these divinities. So that's how we gain actual knowledge of them. And then the languages, of course, reflect that, ritual practices reflect that, and all of that can be found and matched up in the text of ancient Kemet. So when you have the living language and the living culture, and you'll be able to find it and identify it very easily within the various texts of Kemet wherever you look. So this is why we suggest transliterations and translations of these texts. Okay, so I posted one, and there are numerous ones that you can look at, but this is one we found rather quickly. We just want to send out a quick couple of messages to let some individuals know that we are on, some of the individuals who were letting us know that they were going to participate. In the meantime, for those who are on the in the chat room, if you want to interact in the chat room, you can't interact as a guest. You have to log in to interact with the username. If you don't have a username, then you can sign up for one very quickly. For those who are on the phone line, if you want to interact on the phone line, just click on the number 1. We can see that your hand is raised, and then we can call on you. All right. If you have any questions or comments from any of the previous, sessions, of course, you can type them in at any time. Of course, you can hit the hit us up on the phone anytime. Just let us know what questions you have. All right. And for those who came in a little bit late, we're going to post this link as well from the NHOMA page, because we're going to go at first. We're going to go to a section of the OKRA complex, the soul of Akanfo. In fact, I'm going to give you the direct link to that page as well, so you can download that particular section as we go through it, and that's just going to be a short section, and then we can get to the actual text for tonight. But we want you to see those images and get to that information. All right, so look at the OKRA complex, the soul of Akanfo, and first just for those who are new, ODWIRA, of course, when you look at the page, ODWIRA in the Akhan tradition means purification. Jira is a verb meaning to purify. ODWIRA is the noun meaning purification. It also means a celebration of purification, because the name of our New Year's celebration for many Akanfo is ODWIRA, which is purification. What you'll also find, we show, as you look on the Odwirafo channel on Blog Talk, and you see the images fading in and fading out. One of them is the term Jira, as written in the Medutu, in the language of ancient Kemet. And of course, Jira means purification, to purify. It also means a celebration of purification. So the exact same word with the same meanings from ancient Kemet, we still use in the Akhan tradition today with the exact same meaning. And of course, we have the proper vocalization because we still use the word. Very often, some words in ancient Kemet, certain nouns were not inserted between consonants, so therefore, Egyptologists today wouldn't know how these words were pronounced. Sometimes they'll stick an E arbitrarily in between consonants to facilitate pronunciation. Very often, those vowel placements are inaccurate. The way we find out the proper vocalizations is to look into the living languages today where these terms are still being used. So when you see a term like DWRA in ancient Kamit, and it says to purify, purification, and also a celebration of purification, then you look in the living language of today, and do you have a term spelled DWRA that, number one, means purification or to purify, but also means a celebration of purification? And of course, you find that in the Akhan language, DWRA, but it's pronounced Jira or Ojira, the noun version Ojira, and the verb Jira. So that's just an example. You also find, for example, the term Rin in ancient Kamit, RN, Rin meaning name. You find Din or Rin, Edin or Erin in Akhan meaning name. You find Ro or Aro in ancient Kamit meaning mouth. You have Ano in Akhan meaning mouth. And you can go down the line. Thousands of words are exactly the same with the proper vocalization. All right, so we're going to get into, if you look on page 27. Now, and the reason, of course, the name of the show is Ojira, not just purification, just in general. Of course, that's what we're doing. But we talk about Nanasom, ancient Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, ancestral religion. In essence, is the ritual incorporation of divine law and the ritual restoration of divine balance. Through ritual, we incorporate those things, objects, deeds, and entities that we need to harmonize our thoughts, intentions, and actions with divine order. And through ritual, we restore balance to our lives when imbalance has occurred. We reject those things, objects, deeds, or entities that we need to reject in order to restore balance to our lives when imbalance has occurred. This is the expansive and contractive pole of Nanasom, ancestral religion. Divine order is comprised of two poles, the expansive and contractive pole, divine law or love and divine hate, the expansive and contractive pole. Through law, we establish order. Through hate, we reject disorder and its purveyors so that we can maintain balance within ourselves and within our bodies. Ancestral religion is the same. The expansive pole of ancestral religion is law. Through law, we incorporate law in order to harmonize with order. Through hate, we reject disorder so that we can restore balance to ourselves and maintain order. The expansive and contractive poles of ancestral religion. What we say, of course, is Ojira, or purification, operationalizes ancestral religion or Nanasom. Through purification, we put ourselves in the position to be able to incorporate law and to restore balance in a harmonious fashion. So it begins with purification. So this is why the name of the show is Ojira. Okay, so we're going to go to page 27 of our book, the OKRA complex, the soul of Akanfo. And the reason we're going to that particular page is there is an image from one of the chefs-d'oeuvre or papyri of Ani. Specific scene is called the weighing of the heart of the deceased. And we show the whole image, and we were talking about the divinities Shai, as well as Shayet, and She, and Shebia, and Akhan. But one of the things we mentioned here is we talk about the Ba. And you'll see the Ba, which is the little bird with the head of the human being, the head of the deceased person. And we mentioned here the Ba. So right next to the note, it says the Ba spirit in the form of a human-headed bird, the head of the deceased individual, also awaits the results of the weighing of the heart. Ba and Baet are the masculine and feminine terms for our divine living energy, the conscious living spirit entity which animates us like the solar fire or heat within our bodies which permeates our entire being and radiates from us. When the Ka and Ba and the Kayet and Bayet unite, it is the union of the soul and the divine life spirit. The Ba and Bayet carry the energy of Ra and Raet, the creator and creatress, also called the Yonkompon and the Yonkonton in the Akhan tradition. It is the radiant life energy of the Ba Bayet, which allows us to consciously and energetically link to the Abosom in all of creation and activates our inherited energy complex, the She and the Shebia, which we talked about last night. The term Ba in Kamit is ODWIRA in Akhan, OKRA meaning life, existence. The union of the OKRA and OKRA is the union of course, the Ba and the Ka, the union of the divine life spirit with the soul. Now, and also let us pull up one more association with that just so you can get some more information. We're going to pull up a section from, AFURAKA, AFURAITKAIT, the origin of the term Africa. And you can, again, go to the NHOMA page. If you want to pull that up right now, you can pull up the ebook version, the free ebook version. And we talk about the Ba. We spent some time on the Ba and the Ka in the sex part 2 in this particular text. So we're going to pull that up right quick. We're going to go through that section real quick. And in fact, we'll put the link up there right now. In fact, if you just go to the NHOMA page, you can find the AFURAKA, AFURAITKAIT, the origin of the term Africa, and you can pull that up. And it's loading up right now. So we're going to go, just want to read that section right quick before we get into the text that we're talking about tonight. Just so you can get, and we're going to touch on it quickly with regard to the nature of the Ba, but we're going to deal with that subject, Ba itself, just only focused on the Ba in an upcoming broadcast. We have a series that we started yesterday on Akanfo Nanasom, which is called Spiritual Organs. We dealt with the spiritual organ called the Ka, or the OKRAA, last night. And in the upcoming broadcast, the next spiritual organ we'll be dealing with is the Ba, the Bayet, called OKRAA in Akhan. So we'll touch on some of it tonight, but we're going to really get into detail about the nature of that entity like next week. But it's relevant here, so we're going to get into some of it. So if you look on page 14, in AFURAKA, AFURAITKAIT, the origin of the term Africa. And we mentioned that Ra and Raet are the creator and creatress. Together they are the divine living energy moving throughout and animating all of their created entities in creation. Together they are the great spirit. In the language of Kamit, the term for the conscious spirit of life and animation is Ba, represented by a bird or a human-headed bird. So we say the life force moving through you, giving you the ability to move, act, think, is your Ba. When we transition from the world, the Ba, the divine life force spirit, leaves our bodies. It flies away from our bodies like a bird. This is one of the reasons why the Ba is depicted as a bird or a human-headed bird in the illustrations of Knesset or Kanit and Kamit. The human head on the bird being the head or image of the deceased individual who is now a spirit. The Ba also flies through, animates, circulates throughout your entire being, perpetually making and keeping you alive throughout your existence in your physical body while living in the physical world. So, and then we also mentioned the relationship of the Ba and the Ka. Just like if you have a Ka, you have a brain in your body, but then you also have your bloodstream. And the life force energy circulating through the bloodstream through the oxygen. So you have oxygen-carrying blood that connects with the brain, of course, in the union of the bloodstream, the blood and the brain. Physically is like the union of the Ba and the Ka spiritually. This is why we say, just as your physical body contains a smaller body, the brain, which is the control center for the entire body. So does your spirit body, called the Sahu and Kamit, Sumsum and Akhan, contain a smaller spirit body, the spirit brain, or your Ka, which is the control center for the entire spirit body. Your divine consciousness, your soul, your Ka is your spiritual brain. Just as your physical body, including your brain, needs a continuously circulating life energy source, oxygen carrying blood in order to function or live, so does your Sahu, your spirit body, which includes within it your Ka, need a continuous life animating force in order to function / live, operate. This is your Ba. So you thus have a force of life existence, Ba, and you have a consciousness awareness, Ka. You have a spirit, Ba, that animates you, that makes you alive, and a soul, Ka, that makes you aware. You are a conscious Ka, living Ba, being, operating through a physical body. So the Ba and the Ka are divine in provenance and exist as components within Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, or African people only. So we just wanted to touch on that. When you look at the Ba, of course they'll show sometimes the bird itself, sometimes they'll show the human-headed bird showing which, Ba this bird belongs to, which spirit this person belongs to. The human head is the head of the person itself. Sometimes they'll also show the Ba with a bowl of fire or incense smoldering in front of it. That's talking about the fire energy, divine living energy of Ra and Ra'et. In the text, the destruction of mankind, so-called, the book of the cow of heaven, or the book of the heavenly cow and so forth, Ra identifies himself as the Ba within the various divinities, the divine Ba within Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people, the divine Ba living through all animated entities, all created entities. He identifies himself as that. Ra is the great Ba, or divine living spirit in creation. Of course, Ra'et is the great Ba'et, the feminine divine living contractive force in creation. Our Ba, our little divine living energy circulating through our spirit body, just like your oxygen and fire and energy is circulating through your blood at all times. The divine living energy circulating through you at all times. It's a spiritual force that is your Ba, or your Ba'et. Now, Akhan, that's your OKRA, meaning life. So that's the difference. And then it connects with your Ka, or your Kra, your soul, your divine consciousness, just like the blood with its oxygen connects with the brain. The Ba, the living energy, the living spirit, connects with the Ka, with the soul, and that's the union of the spirit and the soul. The whites and offspring typically call the Ba very often, they'll call it the soul, which is inaccurate. Even if you look at the term spirit, we talked about the term spirit in the previous broadcast, giving the actual derivation etymologically of it and cosmologically, ancient information commit, talking about that which comes forth, per and seperit, making that which comes forth, talking about invocation, talking about energy, that which comes forth. When we talk about the term Ba, that energy, the way it's depicted as a bird flying forth, coming forth, even in the Akhan language, the term Oba, when you say it short, Oba, that means offspring, that which has come forth. Oba is a female. Oba Nin, or Obani, Obanima, Oberima, that means a male, which is really Oba Nin. Nin represents the serpent, but it also denotes the male entity. So, for example, you have a lion, a Jata. The male lion is Jata Nini. The female lion is Jata Bere. Or you have a rooster, is Akoko Nini, or Akoko Nin, which is the male, Akoko Bere, which is the female, or the hen. Oba Nin, or Oba Nin, that's the male Oba. And then you have Oba Bea, which is the female Oba. And then the child is Oba. So it all means to come forth, offspring, that which comes forth. Sepert, or seperit, later called spirit, meaning to come forth that which comes forth. So there's a connection between the term spirit directly from ancient Kamit, as spelled S-P-E-R-T or S-P-R-T, Seperit, to make that which comes forth, or to make something come forth, and then the term Ba, the bird that flies, that comes forth, advances, and so forth. So we can show that the Ba is actually the spirit. It's not the soul. The Ka is the soul. The OKRA is the soul, divine consciousness. Now, when we're talking about the Ba, the divine living energy, we're not just talking about electromagnetism. That's a residual emanation of movement that comes, electromagnetic energy comes from the sun and so forth. It's moving through magnets and plant life and metal and everything else. So yes, we do have a magnetic field just by virtue of the fact that we're breathing, we're alive, we're constantly emanating energy and so forth, but that's electromagnetism. When we're talking about the Ba, we're talking about an entity, a conscious entity that dwells within us. Look at the Ba bird, and like the two, we had a male and female Ba bird as the representative image for this broadcast as we advertised it. You'll see, if you look at the bird and you look at the breast of the bird, if it was facing forward, the breast of the bird, and then the two wings as they're folded down. You'll see in Kamit that the Ba is associated with the heart. Even the term Ba, when you reverse it, B-A, A-B is the term Ab, which is the term for heart. And then B-A is the divine living energy that circulates through the blood vessels, through the circulatory system and so forth. The Ba is centered in the heart and so forth. So, and dwells there. So, when you look at the heart, and then you look at the lungs, the heart-lung complex, if you look at it straightforward, it looks like the breast of the bird, the Ba bird, which is the heart region, and then the lungs themselves look like the folded wings of the bird. So when you look at that Ba bird and you place it right over, as an overlay, so to speak, over your heart and lung complex, you see where that Ba bird dwells within you. And of course, the head of the Ba bird can either be a bird itself, or it can be, of course, the head of the person within which it dwells, which is you. So, just like we talked about last night, Amen and Amenet, Inyame and Inyamewa, they direct the great divinity Ka and Kayet to send one of their children, miniature Ka, a divinity, to dwell with you in your head region, takes up residence in your brain, which is the seat of the throne of the Ka, or the Kayet, the crowd, soul, divine consciousness within your body. It is a deity that you communicate with, that you get your direction from, that you invoke. That deity will communicate with you, will show himself or herself to you in real time. So it's not just a feeling, it's an actual deity just like any other deity. The same construct you'll find with the Ba and the Ba'et, or the OKRA, as we say in our Akhan culture. Ra and Ra'et are the great Ba and the great Ba'et in creation. They are the divine living energy, the creator and creatress in creation. They are servants of and subordinate to Amen and Amenet, Inyamewa and Inyame. They are called in Yonkumpon and Yonkunton in our Akhan culture. Just like the Ka, the black substance of space, Khan, Kayet, the male and female force that animates that, takes a portion of that little black substance, that a portion of that spiritual force, and gives that to you, places that in your head region. It's a little divinity, a little black sphere of energy, a deity, a male or female deity that is a child of the great Khan, Kayet. Ra and Ra'et send one of their children, a Ba or a Ba'et, a miniature, and a child of them, a miniature life force energy, a miniature force in creation that dwells. Its seat is in your heart. That's the seat of it, but it circulates all throughout your circulatory system, carrying that energy throughout your body physically as well as in the spiritual circulatory system. That's the energy body of you. of your spirit body, of your sum. So when you look at the heart and lung complex, it has the same shape of the body of the bird. Just like you can direct energy to your arms when you're working out, direct energy to your legs when you're working out on a physical level. When you start lifting weights or doing something very strenuous, your body responds. The heart begins to pump, starts pumping faster, sending more blood. The blood carries oxygen, the blood carries energy, so it's sending more energy to those muscular groups that need the energy and need the blood. And of course, you hit the weights or doing whatever, and then your muscles swell to a certain extent because that blood and that energy is being sent. That's on a physical level. Just like your body will compensate when you engage in physical activity, and it will send oxygen, send blood to the areas that's needed the most, and the heart will begin to pump faster. Spiritually, you can direct your spirit energy to different parts of your spirit body, to the different organs and organ systems within your spirit body. The organs and organ systems in your spirit body are the shrines of different divinities. Just like you have shrines in your house, or you go to a traditional abosom tie or a shrine house, shrine of the abosom, or an ile orisha, and they have shrines to the different orisha that you can go to and salute and invoke and communicate with. In your body, the various shrines are your organs and organ systems. If you're trying to evoke or provoke the energy of an abosom in one of those shrines in your body, physically, your body sends blood, which carries oxygen, which carries energy to different parts of your body. Spiritually, you can direct your energy to different parts of your spirit body to stimulate those regions of your spirit body. Just like if you need that fight or flight, physically, your kidneys and then the adrenal glands on top of the kidneys are stimulated, and then a shot of adrenaline is sent into your bloodstream, and you get that explosive power. That's a specific shrine. You need something going through your muscular region. There's energy sent there. If you need more air, of course, your lungs begin to breathe and expand and contract, and you're pulling in more air. So different parts of your body, things are directed to different parts of your body. They're activated. Spiritually, you can send energy to the quote-unquote spiritual adrenal glands, or the kidney region, which is governed by Nebet head, or the womb and uterus structure, the vagina structure connected with Ajua, Aset. Different regions of your body are different shrines for the various abosom. If you need the energy of those abosom, you stimulate those shrines within yourself by sending your energy, sending a blood sacrifice, sending the blood which carries the oxygen, which carries the energy to those shrines. So when you see people, for example, sacrifice an animal, pour the blood on the shrine of the orisha or the abosom, you're doing the exact same thing. When you invoke the abosom, you generate a great deal of energy, and you send blood to the different regions of your body. The blood carries oxygen, the oxygen carries life force energy. So what you're doing is you're sending the tumi, you're sending blood, you're giving a blood sacrifice and placing it on the shrine in a specific organ or organ system region, and that blood carries the tumi of the abosom, meaning the power of the abosom, the spiritual power of the abosom, the quote-unquote ashe of the orisha, blood sacrifice to these divinities. That's what's happening inside your body. You can direct your ba, that little bird, that energy to fly throughout your body to the different areas of your body that need that energy. You can do that spiritually. Even on a lower level, you can do that even just on the electromagnetic level. People who deal with ritual practices, ritual song, ritual dance, and things like that, they know they can move energy in different parts of the body. They understand that. If somebody's a healer and they're using their hands to heal, Raseki, things like that, they know they have that capacity through the utilization of the Kra, the soul, the divine consciousness. They can direct the energy of their body, of their ba, to their hands. Their hands heat up, and then they can effect some healing on somebody. People know how to do that. They're dealing with the ba, sending ba to fly through the body just like a bird flies through the air. That bird flies through your body, quote-unquote, the quote-unquote bird flies through your body and sends that energy there. Even people who are engaged in pseudo-spiritual practices like Tai Chi or Qigong or yoga and things like that, or Reiki, they know that they can, even just on a basic electromagnetic level, through Tai Chi or Qigong or whatever, they can move energy throughout different parts of their body by utilizing not only the movements, but at some point even just sitting down, meditating, and through breath, moving energy through different parts of the body, utilizing the mind. So that's on a lower level, electromagnetic level. If you're dealing with real ritual practice, you invoke the divinity. The Ba is a divinity. You invoke that divinity within you and direct that divinity to different regions according to what's in harmony with order. So that little bird can be sent to the various regions of your body. So that's what we're talking about. We're not just talking about life force energy on a mundane level. We're talking about a divinity that can be communicated with, a force in nature, a male or a female, a male if you're a male, a female if you're a female, a female force in nature or a male force in nature that you can communicate with and direct. And if your communications are in harmony with divine order, then that dialogue that you have with that force will be a harmonious one, and that force will go to the regions that you need in order to bring energy to those regions so you can execute your function in the world. That force, that Ba, which is a child of Ra and Ra'et, that divine living energy within you is what allows you to connect with the divine living energy and all other created things in creation. So just like you have air in your lungs, like we talked about last night, you open yourself up, take a deep breath, the air in your lungs is all then connected through your trachea to the air in the atmosphere surrounding the earth. So that massive atmosphere of air is linked directly to the tiny pocket of air inside of your lungs, and it's a direct connection. The same is true with the divine living energy that's circulating throughout the Earth Mother, throughout the magnetosphere of Earth, throughout the black substance of space, suns, moons, stars, planets, every created, divinely created thing, and only divinely created. That means plant life, animal life, mineral life, and Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, African or black human life only. None of the whites in our offspring, not only do they not have a Ka or Ka'et, they also do not have a Ba or Ba'et. They just have lower level electromagnetic energy moving through them, just like the carpet, just like the wall, just like a piece of metal, just by virtue of the fact that it's on Earth. The Earth has an electromagnetic field. Everything has some electromagnetic energy circulating through it. The whites in their offspring have that just by virtue of the fact of being in existence, but they do not have a Ba or Ba'et. They do not have a Ka or Ka'et. They don't have a divinity within them that they can communicate with and direct that divine living energy to move to different shrines in their bodies, because they don't have shrines in their bodies. So the Ba'et allows us to connect our living energy with the divine living energy that's circulating through all things, including the Ba or Ba'as or Ba'u, plural, that are within the deity. The reason we can connect with the divinity and the divinity can come and possess our people is because there is a bridge of energy, of life, divine life force energy emanating from us, leaving our spirit bodies and our physical bodies, a bridge of energy leaving us and connecting with them, and that channel or bridge of energy, they can travel across and enter into our vessels and possess our bodies, and then operate in harmony. So now, so we just wanted to go through that with regard to the nature of the Ba, its location, its properties. If you're in harmony with that divine force, of course, again, it's a child of Ra and Ra'et. It's a divinity. And the only way you can direct that divinity, it doesn't just obey anything you say. It only obeys what Ra and Ra'et directs it to obey through the agency of what your function is. So if you have a specific function to execute in creation, when it's time for you to execute that function or utilize that fiery energy in a certain way to heal somebody or something like that, then you can invoke your Ba, direct that little bird of energy to fly through the different parts of your spirit body to give you the energy you need to affect that healing process. Because what you're doing is in harmony with what has been encoded within your crowd, within your consciousness, what your function is. If you try to use some energy outside of harmony with divine order, the Ba will not obey you. Your Ka, of course, will not obey you. And the only thing you have left is the residual electromagnetic energy that's floating around connected with every other thing. But the divinities will never assist you in engaging in disorder or perversity, ever. You cannot conscript them to do that. You are not in control of the deities. They control themselves, and they only follow Inyamewa, Inyame, Amenet, and Amen. And when you follow Amenet and Amen through the agency of your own Ka, your soul, your divine consciousness, and then you provoke them, then they will respond and link you up with the energy of other abosom so you can function. So that's the nature of the Ba. If you get out of harmony with it, then there's a problem, and it's not going to obey you, and it'll try to pull you in the right direction, energize you energically in the right direction, and so forth. And this is where we get into this dialogue of the man with his Ba. Sometimes they call it the dispute of a man with his Ba, or the debate of a man with his Ba. This is what we're going to get into. All right, so before we get into that, quick question in the chat room. It says, speaking of Qigong, the Al-Sarasat Society tells me that I should practice that. What are your views on that? Okay, so first, look at our publication, the origin of the term, Yoga, Kata, Kasa, the origin and nature of the chakra. And in there, we not only talk about the origin of these practices, these terms, including the term Chi, or Ki, which is actually a title of Ra in ancient Kamit, and we show the Medutu that spell that out, meaning the exalted one. So we get into that. In the appendix of that book, we added the appendix a few weeks ago, which was new. It wasn't part of the original text, talking about the heart, and Kepra and Kepri. And we talked about the different movements that you see in the Medutu, and we show them, and there are a series of movements that they show specifically a man doing different movements that they call ab or dance movements, but those series of movements that you see are all what they now call Qigong movements. And if you go from movement to movement to movement, it's simply the same Qigong or Tai Chi sequence. And it's in there. So what you need to understand is the nature of this force in relationship to what your function in the world is. We've always had ritual movement to move energy and move the Ba and direct the Ba to different parts of our spirit bodies to affect our systems. They're not going to teach that in Qigong. They're going to teach you movements. Any movement you do, anytime you move, you're going to move energy. And your blood's going to get pumping, and if you're a little bit receptive, you'll feel the energy moving through your body. You don't attribute that to the structure of Qigong and the way they teach it in Asia. You're a melanin-dominant being. And because you're a melanin-dominant being, and you have life force energy moving through you, when you move, you're going to generate energy. Our movements are directed when we're engaged in proper ritual by our OKRA, our soul, our divine consciousness, the other abosom associated with us, our non-NHOMA and Samafo. So when we have ritual dance, that's the same as quote-unquote Qigong. But those movements are directed by the abosom that are connected to us. When we engage in other forms of ritual movement, ritual prayer, libation, different things that we do, we're transferring energy. We're receiving energy, processing it, transmitting it. So you can do those exercises just like you can do regular exercises. You can do aerobics, you can do all kinds of things, and you're going to move energy around. But unless you link what you're doing, unless your movements are directed by your Kra, you're just engaged in some electromagnetic exercising. some electromagnetic weightlifting. So just like somebody goes to the gym and lifts weights, they can get strong. The more they lift weights, the stronger or bigger and muscular and cut they're going to get. If you lift psychic weights, then you'll develop a little bit of psychic muscle. So you'll move some energy around, you feel a little bit stronger, you'll be a little bit more receptive. You engage in just basic practices like meditation or Qigong, Tai Chi, the way yoga is taught and different things. You will move some energy around, you'll be a little bit more psychically healthy than the average person who doesn't do that. Just like somebody who's lifting weights is going to be more physically strong than the average person who doesn't do that. But if you're lifting weights and it has no direction from your crop, you can use that muscular energy to choke somebody to death and steal their wallet, or you can use the energy to save somebody from a burning building. If you are, engaged in the process of Qigong and things like that, it's not being directed by your crop. There's no association with the abosom that govern you on what kind of movements you need to engage in to generate, to stimulate what organs and organ systems in your spirit body. If you haven't engaged that process, which simply comes from you sitting at the shrine with your Akra and communicating with your Akra on a consistent basis. That's all it takes. Nothing, elaborate, so that you can be directed properly. But if it's not directed like that, then you're just engaged in moving some psychic energy around that feels a little bit good and a little bit better than the average individual or how you felt when you weren't doing it. But it must be linked to Ma'ah and Ma'at, divine law, divine balance. The way you link it is to, number one, establish a relationship with your ancestresses and ancestors, and they will guide you towards what kinds of practices you need to engage in, and then, of course, connecting with your Akra and so forth. Okay, so the book that we mentioned is Ankh, the origin of the term yoga. So when you go to the NHOMA page on our website, that is one of the books on the page that you can, of course, all the books are free ebook downloads, so you can download all of them. But then we also have the softcover version. That particular softcover version, it deals with the origin of the term yoga, kara kasa, kara, and kara kara, the origin and nature of the chakra. So these are terms that come directly from ancient Kamit. We show them in the Medutu. There's nothing to do with Sanskrit, but then we also show how what they call yoga as a discipline is really not what it is. And when you understand the word Ankh or Yonk, which became Yonk or Yoke in English, Yug in Proto-Indo-European, Sanskrit and so forth, when you know what the Ankh actually is, and you have a totally different understanding of what the term means, how it was corrupted, and why the practices very often people engage in are just exercises, but it's not linking them to divine order. So we go into detail about that. You can download that book. Hold on, we need to plug in the computer for a second. Okay. All right, so now we're going to get into the actual text. We talked about the nature of the Bayat, the Abra, and again, we're going to spend an entire show going into detail about the Ba and the Bayat in an upcoming broadcast on the nature of our spiritual organs on Akanfo Nanasom, but we have to touch on it here just so we can get to the nature of this text that we're going to be dealing with now. So they'll call it the dialogue of a man with his Ba, dispute of a man with his Ba, a so-called Middle Kingdom text, comes around the time, intermediate periods when things had degenerated politically in Kamit, when we had a stable period, what they'll call the Old Kingdom, the stable period, long period of development, stability in society, strong government, and so forth. Then there comes an intermediate period where there's 100+ years of a breakdown politically, some kind of chaos, invasions coming from foreigners and so forth. And then you find these texts that show up around these times. And, for example, like the admonitions of Akwamu, and we also talked about previous broadcast, the prophecy of Nefertiti and so forth, talking about these times when people were lamenting. They'll often call these texts of lamentation and so forth, when society was breaking down, and they're talking about all the negative things that have happened. And different writers, these sages or different writers at the time in Kamit, they approached these things and described these situations in their own way. In this particular text, this individual is in reality suicidal, even though some of the individuals who translate the text, they'll say, well, there's no indication of suicide, he's just lamenting. But if you understand what the ba is, then you will understand why it's a suicidal ideation. But then it's also a lesson on the value of life. The person is communicating with his ba, and also it points to why suicide is a taboo in Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit culture, and it talks about a number of different things. If people are not like these white Egyptologists and others who are not, of course, part of the culture at all, and even black people who are studying but they're not embracing ancestral religion, it's hard for them to see some of the very obvious lessons here in a text like this. So we're going to read through the text. We have the transliteration and translation. The specific one that we downloaded is by Nehem. So we put the link up there. The reason we downloaded this one is because it was one quickly that you could find that has the transliteration as well as the translation in the text. So that way, once you see the transliteration, you can go to your own sources for verification, for corrections, and then you can look in the languages, as we said earlier, of AFURAKA, AFURAITKAIT, and make corrections and verifications because we still speak the same language. All right. So before we get, let me make sure there's no other questions on the line. All right, so we're going to read through the text. The beginning of the text, first few lines of the text were damaged, so they were missing. And then there are a few places in the text where there was a damaged portion. Only one copy of the text was ever found. So unlike some other texts that have numerous copies in different tombs and things like that, where you have a damaged section, then you can find another copy somewhere else, and you can fill in where the damage was in the other text. This was the only text of this particular, dialogue ever found. So some of it is missing, some of it is damaged. But to set the stage, there's a man. Things are going on very negative in Kamit, and then of course impacting his life. And he's looking forward and yearning for what in Kamit would be called the Amenti, or the West. And that is a description, meaning the West, the land where the sun sets, but that's also a description for the land of the ancestresses and ancestors, the land of the deceased, the ancestral spirits. The place where the sun sets is the gateway to the ancestral realm. So the people in the West, in the Amenti, the West, are called Amentiu, different titles meaning the Westerners. If you talk about a Westerner, that means those who have died, those who are ancestral spirits, and so forth. So he'll mention in the text, he's yearning for the West, or the beautiful West, not just saying where the sun sets and the sunset is beautiful in the West. It's talking about somebody who's made their transition. They have gone to the ancestral realm. If they go, if they lived in harmony on earth, then it will be a beautiful existence in the ancestral realm. Of course, if you did not, then you have a negative existence. This is the lesson just up front with regard to the notion of suicide. We've been brainwashed in this culture by Christianity, Islam, pseudo-New Age, spirituality, different pseudo-schools of thought, giving us various forms of misinformation about the after-death state. So some people are Christians, they think they're going to go to hell, but then some Christians thinking, as long as I was really just a nice person, then I'll be forgiven. I'm going to float up in the sky, see a crack in the sky. course, is not true. Same thing with Islam and Judaism and so forth. Then people with Hinduism, Vedanta, Taoism, Buddhism, and so forth, misinformation about the nature of the spirit realm, pseudo-New Age spirituality and pseudo-esoteric, pseudo-wisdom, non-wisdom really, people believing that, oh, well then, you choose where you're going to be born. You may choose to return as a gnat or a tree or this or that. Just all kinds of nonsense, inaccurate. So when people have these things floating around in their head, but if they think that, well, if I just show unconditional love here and there, there's no such thing in reality, because love is law, and law is the basis of that which is conditional, so there's no such thing as unconditional law, because law is conditions based on divine order, and we can't operate outside of divine order. Of course, we can try to subvert the order, but that's a temporary aberration which is crushed by the divine immune and lymphatic system in the great divine body. So when people believe they can do that, and they can do whatever they want, but then they can just repent or, whatever. I think when they die, they're going to go to quote-unquote heaven or be with their spirits and things like that. They have misinformation. Other things floating around in their head makes them believe that if things are going negative, if you kill yourself, then you can escape that negativity. You escape the physical world, and you can just free yourself from it. When you understand reality, especially if you embrace your ancestral religion, you actually engage with people who are in the spirit realm, you know that's foolish because you're not escaping anything. You take your life, your spirit leaves your physical body, now you are in the spirit realm, and you will confront and interact with other individuals and entities who are just as disordered on the same vibration as you, and they will create the same amount and more suffering there than you had while you were here. Not only that, but in the physical world, you kill yourself, you separate your spirit from your body, you escape the physical realm, but now you're in the spirit realm. When you're in the spirit realm, until it's time for you to reincarnate, you're in the spirit realm. You can't kill yourself in the spirit realm and show back up in the physical realm because you're suffering so much in the spirit realm, you want to come back here. It doesn't work that way. So if you're suffering here and you kill yourself thinking you're going to escape something, think again, because you'll be in a worse condition, but now that condition will be perpetual. It may last 100-200 years before it's time for you to reincarnate. You are stuck. You can't go anywhere. And all that unconditional love nonsense and thinking that you're just going to focus on some little pseudo-angel like Raphael or something and that's going to save you in the spirit realm, you'll recognize very rapidly that none of that was true. And you'll be suffering in the spirit realm for a great period of time. So if you think suicide is a gateway out of suffering, it's actually a doorway into increased suffering. So you need to understand that. The whites in our spring don't want us to understand that because they want us to increase our suffering. They want us to suffer while we're here, and for those who actually take their lives, then they become earthbound spirits who can't get transition smoothly or transition period to the ancestral realm with the honorable ancestresses and ancestors, so they're hanging around earthbound, angry, depressed, full of anxiety, afflicting the living people who they're still hanging around. They're hanging around the spot where they were killed, hanging around the spot or the house that they died in, or the hospital they died in, or the seniors' home that they died in, and so forth. Their spirits are still hanging around for 10 years, 30 years, 100 years, 150, 200 years, and they're suffering the whole time. So that's what's going on. So let's get into this text so we can see this dialogue. The man is suicidal, and when we talk, we're going to show why he's really suicidal, even though the whites in our spring don't understand that. Because they assume that, well, he's talking to his Ba, and he didn't try to kill himself, and he's talking about death and yearning for death, but there's no indication of suicide. They don't understand what a Ba actually is and why it's his Ba, not somebody else's Ba. And if you're directing your Ba to take you out of this life, then that's suicidal ideation at the highest level. So, setting the stage, he's depressed. He wants out of this life because of all the things that are happening in the nation and then within his own life. And he's trying to convince his Ba, his spirit, to take him away from this life. And his Ba is shutting that down. And he's actually angry with his Ba for not going along with the nonsense. Of course, the Ba is a divine spirit, a child of Ra and Ra'et. The Ba will never go against divine order. So it doesn't matter how you feel or if you want to engage in something foolish, you can't move the deities to support you in foolishness. You can't just say a little formula, engage in a little ritual, and make the forces that make the sun spin and the earth spin and the oceans rise and fall and so forth. You're not going to make them obey you and engage in disorder just because you perform some little ritual with a little formula. These are not, we're not talking about Aladdin in a little, a little pot, a little, jar, and then you just rub it and tell Aladdin what you want, and they're trapped in their little pot until, or a lamp until you let them out. This is not what the Abosom are. That's what not shrines are not, Aladdin's lamp. They're not quote-unquote genies, so to speak. So they are embodiments of divine order in creation. They do not obey us, they obey Inyamewa and Inyame. Just like we should be obeying Inyamewa, Inyame, just like every cell in your body should be obeying the order and structure of your body and not trying to do its own thing. Because if it does, it'll be wiped out through the immune and lymphatic system. So, the Muslim, including the Ba, will not just obey and do whatever you want. So his Ba is rejecting his pleas, and he has a number of different, approaches or angles trying to get the Ba to listen to what he's saying. So we're going to get into this, and it's going to bring some light to a number of different points that are key. And again, like we said, the first part of the text is missing, and then there's some damage. So even when you read through it, it says you, and then there's some damage to say. Their tongues were not partial concerning their opposing bribery. Their tongues were not partial. There's a lot missing there, but once you read the entire text, then you can look back at the beginning, and then you can set that initial stage where he had already just started this dialogue with his Ba. So they're translating it as soul, but it should be spirit, but we will use the proper term Ba now that we know what the nature and the properties of the Ba are. So he says, I opened my mouth to my Ba that I might answer what he had said. And so the man says to his Ba, this is much against me today, whereas my Ba has not quarreled with me before. It is more than exaggeration. It is like I am ignored. May my Ba not depart. May it attend to me in this. He will not be guilty, that he will distance himself from my body from a net of cord, and it will not happen due to him that he flees on the day of suffering. Look, my Ba is disobeying me. While I do not listen to him, is dragging me toward death before I have come to it, and is throwing me on the fire to burn me up, without him suffering therein. He will stay close to me on the day of suffering. He should stand way on the other side or yonder side like a praise singer does. This is one who goes forth as he has brought himself. So my soul is ignorant about easing the misery that is due to life and restrains me from death before I have come to it. The west gives me pleasure. Is it suffering? It is a turning point of life. Trees fall, trample on evil, and cast aside my misery. Let's go back up first. Now, we read the transliteration, but we want to give insight into that. So first he's saying, this is much against me today, whereas my Ba has not quarreled with me before. Now, and it's the beginning of the text, and the part that was missing was saying, listen, he's trying to get his Ba to lead his spirit out of his body so he can die. And he's like, this is crazy. My Ba has never quarreled with me before, has never fought with me before, and now my Ba is is rejecting what I have to say. I'm not exaggerating. He says it is more than exaggeration. It's like I am ignored. May my soul not depart, or my body not depart. He's saying his body, it's like his body's just ignoring everything he's saying. He's asking his body, don't depart from him. He's trying to tell him what he wants. He wants to leave this earth. He's suicidal. And now his body, after all these years, is just ignoring everything he's saying, turning a deaf ear to it, not paying attention, and will not participate in his foolish ideation. That's why he says, may my body not depart, may it attend to me in this. Saying, he's asking, will you please attend to me in this? Will you please listen to me, give me a hearing, understand that I want to leave this life? Why don't you just participate and help pull my spirit out of my body and stop ignoring me? And if you do that, you will not be guilty. You not distance yourself from my body from a net of cord, and it will not happen due to him that he flees on the day of suffering. It's key here when he's talking about if you just listen to me, attend to me in this, you will not be guilty that you pull, distance yourself from my body from a net of cord and so forth. What do they mean by the net of cord? He's saying, please pull my spirit out of my body so I can die. You won't be guilty. Stop ignoring me. Just come on, do this with me. We can work together and just do it. Do as I say. Stop rejecting me. You won't be guilty if you do this. Pulling, distancing yourself from my body from a net of cord. What is the net of cord they're talking about? When you're asleep, and some people who have had this experience, if you had what they call an out-of-body experience, where your sun, where your sahu leaves your body during the sleep state and travels and communicates with other ancestresses and ancestors and discarnate entities in the spirit realm. Sometimes they'll call that astral travel. But then eventually, of course, before you wake up, your sun re-enters your spirit body, which contains the body. So when we talk about, just like you have a physical body, then you have energy circulating through your physical body. You have a spirit body, a sun, and that divine living energy circulating within your spirit body is your ba, or your bayat. Your spirit body, your sun, leaves your physical body at nighttime and so forth, eventually gets back in the body, you wake up. People who have had that experience very often will talk about how the spirit body, yes, is separate from the physical body, but it's connected by a cord of spirit that's connected to the physical body and the spirit body. When that cord breaks, then that sun, that spirit body, will never be able to get back into the body and the person is dead. But they'll describe that cord. If you've ever had that experience where your sun left your body during the sleep state, you will be able to look down on your body and see your body laying in the bed. Many people have had that experience, whether you were a child or an adult. People have had that experience, and some people have talked about that cord. When he talks about, if the body just pays attention to him, stops arguing, stops being obstinate, basically, and attend to him in this, then, you won't be guilty. You won't be guilty of wrongdoing. He's trying to convince the body. If you just obey me, you won't be guilty. You won't be found guilty of wrongdoing from the deities. Of course, that's not true, but he's trying to convince the body to do it anyway, that he will distance himself from my body from a net of cord, and it will not happen due to him that he flees on the day of suffering. So that's what they're talking about. So he's trying to get him to pull his spirit out of his body. Just like that happens during the sleep state, but your spirit returns to the body. When you die, your spirit, of course, leaves the body, just like smoke or steam rising up from a pot. That cord of spirit, however, is broken, and now the spirit totally separates from the body. And once that cord of spirit is broken, then there's no energetic link from the spirit body to the physical body, and now the physical body begins to degenerate. It begins to break down because there's no link of divine living energy in it, or even electromagnetic energy from the previous spirit, that residual energy, to keep it vibrant and keep it together. So it begins to disintegrate and decompose. All right. So then the next line says, look, my Ba is disobeying me. While I do not listen to him, is dragging me toward death before I have come to it, and is throwing me on the fire to burn me up, without him suffering therein. He will stay close to me on the day of suffering. He should stand on yonder side like a praise singer does. This is one who goes forth as he has brought himself. My soul is ignorant about easing the misery that is due to life, and restrains me from death before I have come to it. The west gives me pleasure, meaning the ancestral realm, the gate to the ancestral realm gives me pleasure. So when he says the west gives me pleasure, he's like, and he also says my soul, my Ba is ignorant about easing the misery that is due to life, and restrains me from death before I have come to it. So he's trying to get to death, but his Ba is restraining him from death. His Ba is not allowing him to die. His Ba is actually staying in his body. Like, I'm not going to leave your body. I'm not going to break that cord of life-giving energy. I'm going to keep you alive. So he's saying, you're restraining me from death. The west gives me pleasure, meaning just the view of the west, the ancestral realm going to the gate of death, that gives me pleasure, but you're restraining me from that. You are ignorant. He's telling his body, you're ignorant about easing the misery that is due to life. So he's saying, life is causing me misery. You are ignorant of that. You're just totally ignoring it, and all you have to do is let me die, and then my misery will be taken care of. But you won't allow me to die. You're restraining me from reaching death from the beautiful west, and you're making me suffer. And then he says, it is suffering. It is a turning point of life. Trees fall, trample on evil, and cast aside my misery. May Tahuti declare concerning me, the Ntoru, or the deities are at peace or satisfied. Kensu defend me, a true scribe. May Ra hear my utterance, stop the bark. May Isdes defend me in the sacred hall, for my need is heavy to weigh it on my behalf. It is pleasant that the deities should eliminate the concealment of my body. So when he says all that, he's saying, when he says, may Tahuti declare concerning me, the deities are satisfied. At the weighing of the heart, after the person dies, when the heart is weighed against the feather and it's found into balance, Tahuti takes note of that balance. He records that and he announces it to the court of the divinities. And when the person is found to be in balance with the feather of Ma'at or divine law, Tahuti announces the deities, the Ntoru are satisfied. This person, this spirit now can be ushered into the realm of Alsar and Alset and the ancestral realm, and he can live in peace and harmony with his honorable ancestresses and ancestors, his great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers who went before him. He can live with them in peace now because his heart balanced the feather. So he's saying, let me die. May Tahuti say that the deities are pleased and satisfied. May Kensu defend me, a true scribe. May Ra hear my utterance and stop the bark, because the honored ancestral spirits, the Aku, the Akutu, the illuminated ones, they ride in the bark or the boat of Ra. And when Ra stops his boat, then the ancestral spirits who are in the spirit realm, they can go and get on the boat with Ra and sail around with Ra and so forth. And he's saying, let all that happen to me. When people make their transition in a harmonious fashion, Tahuti declares them harmonious. The deities are satisfied. Kensu defends me. Ra stops the boat, allows me to get on the boat like an honorable ancestral spirit. Ifdes, which is a divinity dealing with the ancestral realm, defends the person in the sacred hall of Ma'at and so forth. And he's saying, let all that happen to me just like a regular person who makes the transition. Let me just do that now instead of waiting until it's time for me to die. I want to leave now. I want to go through that judgment process, clear it with flying colors, so to speak, and be accepted into the ancestral realm. Let all that happen to me now. For my need is heavy to weigh my heart on my behalf. It is pleasant that the deities should eliminate the concealment of my body. This is what he's saying. What my Ba said to me. So now the Ba responds to all of that. The Ba says to him, are you not a man? You are alive. What do you achieve if you are concerned about life like a possessor of wealth? So he's saying, listen, you are alive, meaning I am in your body. I'm not going anywhere. Are you not a man? And, of course, that's very important because we're talking about you're a man just like a woman. You have a specific function in creation. I'm a divine spirit, a child of Ra, living within you. You're a man. You're a human being. You have a function. Of course, some fools want to be gods and goddesses and thinking, human beings are too inferior to be. They have to be a god or a goddess. Black men is God, a black woman is God, that kind of nonsense. They're talking about the by itself, the divine spirit itself saying, are you not a man? You are alive. What do you achieve if you are concerned about life like a possessor of wealth? Meaning, only thing that you're concerned about in life is materialism, what makes you feel good. Like a possessor of wealth, you're only concerned about your objects of possession. That's how you're approaching life. Are you not a man? Meaning, when we talk about a man in English or a European culture, a man is just a man, and that's an inferior being, a sinful flesh and shaped in iniquity and all that nonsense. For a born sinner, all that craziness. Same thing in the East, talking about being controlled by lust and everything else. But for us, when he says, are you a man, he's reminding him of his divine function in creation as an Afurakani human being, an Afuraitkaitnit human being, male and female. We both have a function, human being, and only Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit human beings have a specific function. He reminds him, as a man, you have a specific function. Don't you remember that? You are alive. What do you achieve if you are concerned about life like a possessor of wealth, just a greedy person who lives by lust and vice? Then he said, I would say to someone who is about to go, as to that burial, you are taken away from leaping around. Without your taking care, every criminal will say, I will take you. When you are dead, but your name still lives, that is a resting place attractive to the heart. The West is a harbor of voyage. Let's go back now. He said, I would say to someone who is about to go, make their transition, as to that burial, you are taken away from leaping around. Without your taking care, every criminal will say, I will take you. Now, what they're saying is, if you die before your time, and he says, as to that burial, this is what the Ba is telling the man. He's telling him, if you die before your time, suicide or whatever, then he says, you're taken away from leaping around or moving around. You're losing your sense of movement, being able to direct your movement and execute your function in the world according to your nature, according to your desire. Without your taking care, every criminal will say, I will take you. Every criminal or discarnate spirit will say, I will take you. So therefore, when you die, you make your transition. If you make a normal transition, then the Abosom support you, your honored ancestresses and ancestors support you. You go through the judgment hall, judge against the feather of Ma'at. You pass that test, of course, and you live with the ancestresses and ancestors. The pathway from physical death to the ancestral realm is protected by Nebuhet, Akua, as well as other Abosom and so forth. And we talk about that in our publication dealing with Akua. But if you kill yourself or you engage in some criminality and you die or whatever, spirit separates from the body. You're the type that becomes a discarnate spirit. You don't make a transition to the ancestral realm. Your body is earthbound. You're hanging around, haunting houses, causing people problems, sitting on the bridge that you jumped off of and killed yourself and causing everybody who walks across the bridge, as we said before, feel suicidal every time they cross the bridge and pass by you as a discarnate spirit and they don't know you're there. They feel your anxiety and they get filled up with that. You're discarnate. You're wayward. You're hanging out. You're suffering. He says, without your taking care, meaning taking care of yourself, your function and so forth, every criminal will say, I will take you. Now you are susceptible to being influenced by other discarnate spirits who have been hanging around, earthbound, for 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 1,000 years, who have been suffering for a great deal of time. And they will attach themselves and attack you and inflict pain and suffering on you. If you understand, in the Akhan tradition, the dream state is akin, literally, to the sleep state. Similar things that happen, we have proverbial wisdom that deals with that, ancestral wisdom that deals with that, divine wisdom that deals with that. So, if you look at the sleep state, your body's in the dark, laying still, eyes are closed, no sound, no light, but you are experiencing luminous images, interactions, having all kinds of experiences, sometimes experiences that are very frightening, sometimes experiences that are very pleasurable, sometimes experiences where you suffer pain until you wake up in a cold sweat, heart pumping and everything else. But you have experienced that pain, you experience fright, you've experienced all different kinds of things. When you make your transition and your spirit leaves your body for good, if you don't make a smooth transition to the ancestral realm, you'll still be earthbound, but it's very similar to the sleep state, except your body's not laying in a bed, it's in the ground buried. That cord of energy that ties you to your physical body while you're asleep is broken. Now your former body is buried in the ground. You're a spirit. You're experiencing other spirits. You experience fright, pleasure sometimes, pain, whatever it is, but you can suffer pain, suffer that affliction and so forth, but it doesn't all of a sudden abruptly end when you wake up, because now you're not going to wake up, quote unquote, until you reincarnate, and that may be a couple of 100 years from now, so you're going to be suffering, quote unquote, bad dreams or nightmares for the next 100+ years, unless you get some kind of work done spiritually. Your people here on earth do something with regard to you, but also you do your own spiritual work as well. But people who made their transition in that state, it's very difficult for them to engage that kind of spiritual work because they entered into the the spirit realm in that state, so they suffer for a great deal of time. So he's talking about the Ba telling him, I would say to someone who is about to go, meaning going to the west ancestral realm, as to that burial, you are taken away from leaping around, you no longer have movement. Without your taking care of your own spirit, the way you should be functioning, every criminal will say, I will take you. So these other discarnate spirits are just waiting around for you to show up so they can begin to attack you, no different than somebody getting locked up in jail and all the inmates are waiting for them to attack them. It says, so he says that portion. Then the Ba says, when you are dead, but your name still lives, that is a resting place attractive to the heart. The west, or the Amint, is a harbor, a voyage. And so he ends the statement there. So he's saying the first part of his statement is you try to leave ahead of time, you're going to put yourself in a position where you're suffering on a consistent basis, and those criminal discarnate spirits are going to take control of you and afflict you, and you'll be fighting them for a very long time. However, when you are dead and your name still lives, meaning you have a good reign, a good name, a good edin, a good name because you lived in harmony with order, while you were alive, the Supreme Being's arrangement or order, in Akhan, Aminet, Amen, Sesher, and Kamet. When you live, align your thoughts, intentions, and actions with divine order on a consistent basis and become an honorable elder or elderess, a nana, then that's the way you have a quote-unquote good name. And your name carries power because when people evoke that name, and they invoke your spirit, and it's a harmonious spirit, and you have that power that resonates, that harmony. And then you can bring balance to people. When somebody has a vibrant, powerful, harmonious spirit, they can step in the midst of other people and affect them in a positive fashion. They're very magnetic. And again, like magnets on the table, when you have that strong magnet, it'll pull other magnets into its field. When somebody has who lives in harmony with divine order, they become vibrant like that. They become a super magnet to a certain extent. They repel disorder like the repulsive power of a magnet, but they also have a strong attraction for order, and they can help people align themselves just by being in their presence. And when that person's name is called, the energy that they have is attuned to that name, and that evokes a harmonious energy as well. So if you have a good name because you lived in harmony with order and you exude divine order, divine wisdom, but you also exude and emanate a balanced energy that's constantly emanating from you, that vibrant, powerful, magnetic energy. And therefore you have a good name, and meaning your name still lives, as he says, that is a resting place attractive to the heart. So when you develop a good name on earth, when you make your transition, that becomes a resting place that is attractive to your heart, because you can take up residence in that divinely ordered situation you've given yourself by living in harmony with order while you are alive. Then when you make your transition, the ancestors and ancestors will be drawn to you, you'll be drawn to them, you're on their same frequency. The Abosom will be drawn to you, you're drawn to them because you're on their same frequency. You'll avoid all those negative earthbound spirits that are trying to drag you and pull you down. Just like somebody walking by, if you're walking by a group of people who are smoking weed, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, and you're vibrant, powerful, you will be repelled, and you will repel that energy. They can feel yours. They can feel the difference between their weak energy and yours. You won't be attracted to what they're doing if they're engaged in drug use. You'll repel that nonsense, and you'll just keep walking. It won't be a problem at all. If you were a drug addict, you were hooked on drugs, you tried to stop, but you started going around the people who were smoking, drinking, engaged in drug use, even though, people were trying to help you, all were trying to direct you to not only clean yourself up, but stay away from those individuals right now, but you go around them anyway, then their magnetism engaged in that filthy practice starts pulling on you, while another person can walk by and it has no effect on them. They have no desire whatsoever to even consider engaging in the behavior that these drug addicts are engaging in on the corner. If you're hooked on that stuff, you're still addicted to it. When you walk by them and you smell the weed or you smell the alcohol or see the drugs, you start having withdrawals, you start being drawn back, and the next thing you know, you're doing it as well. You get pulled into that nonsense. If you have a vibrant spirit, because you lived in harmony with divine order on earth, when you make your transition, those discarnate spirits that are hanging around in the dark, in the blindness, in reality, not the darkness, but the blindness, they can try to pull on you, but you repel them easily. And you go right to the honorable ancestors and ancestors, and go to the ancestral realm and live in peace with them. No crackers there as well, until it's time for you to reincarnate. Somebody else not living in harmony, they'll be drawn by these discarnate spirits and pulled in. So, but when you do what you need to do, then you'll have a good name is what they're saying, and that's proverbial wisdom, divine wisdom teaching. A good name, meaning your name still lives, that is a resting place that is attractive to the heart. Then the west is a harbor, a voyage. Then the text is damaged, but it's talking about the west is a harbor at that point. It's no longer just a place where the sun sets, the gateway to the ancestral realm, and possibly the gateway to a bunch of negative discarnate spirits. Now it's a harbor. You look forward to it in that sense because you live your life in harmony, and now it's a harbor for you. And when you dock your boat and get off, you connect with the ancestors and ancestors who are honorable and so forth. So that was the Ba's statement to the man. That was his response. He showed them what he would say, what would happen to somebody who took their life ahead of time, how negative that is, and then the Ba also showed if you have a name that still lives, meaning you created a good name, then now you'll move into the ancestral realm at the right time, not ahead of time, not untimely, but at the right time, and it'll be a harmonious movement. So that was his statement to the man. Now the man responds. If my soul, it says soul, but if my Ba listens to me, and he says, my neglectful brother, he's calling his Ba his neglectful brother. If he listens to me with his heart in accordance with mine, he will prosper. Now he's about to make the Ba a bunch of promises. He's trying to negotiate with the Ba. If you listen to me, Ba, my neglectful brother, with your heart in accord with mine, you will prosper. I will make you to reach the west like someone in his tomb. So that means he's going to have offerings for the Ba in his tomb, and so forth. So it says, I will make him reach the west like someone in his pyramid or tomb to whose burial a survivor has attended. I will create a breeze over your corpse, and you will make, or over your body, and you will make another soul in weariness envious. I will create a breeze so that it will not be freezing, and you will make another Ba who is hot envious. I will drink water at the watering place. I will heap up hay, and you will make another Ba who is hungry envious. Now he's saying that, listen, stop neglecting me, my brother, my Ba. If you get in accord with me, I'll make you prosper. I'll make you reach the west. Just like, so what would happen when people make their transition, and they die and they get buried and they're mummified and so forth? One of the things that people will do is go and their survivors, as well as priests and priestesses, will bring offerings to their Ka, offerings to the Ba, offerings of food and other things to the Ka, offerings of incense and other things to the Ba. And that will draw the Ba and the Ka together of the person, and the person will take up residence in that spiritual body. They'll reconstitute. So when their Sum leaves the body, what happens is the Ka, the soul, divine consciousness, goes to Inyame wa Inyame to report on what the person did and so forth. Eventually the Ka will reconnect with the person's Sum. The Ba will go to Ra and Ra'ek as well. When you look at the weighing of the heart, you'll notice that the Ka of the person is there, like in the papyrus of Ani, for example. You see Ani standing there, that's actually his Ka, that's him standing there, the Ka. Then you see his Ba perched on a little perch, and he's watching the weighing as well. And then once the heart is weighed against the feather, once he's, he passes the test, and of course Ani passes that test, then he's going to be accepted into the realm that's governed by Asar, also Aset and Nebuchad and so forth, into the honorable realm of the ancestresses and ancestors in harmony. Once that happens, then his Ba and Ka will reunite in his Sum and his spirit body, and he'll become an Akhu, one of the illuminated ancestresses and ancestors. If he was out of harmony, of course, the Ka will totally separate, like we talked about last night. The Ba will separate as well. But if he passes that test, the Ba and the Ka will reunite. When somebody made their transition, the body is mummified, placed in the tomb. The spirit of the person is, first hanging around the family for a while until the funeral happens. But in the meantime, people are bringing offerings to the Ka of the person, bringing offerings, incense, and so forth to the Ba of the person. And the Ba comes and takes part in that ceremony, takes part of that energy, those offerings that are given and so forth. So when the person is saying, listen, if you listen to me, just get your heart in accord with mine, I'll make you prosper. When you go to the west, I'll make somebody give you offerings like to those who burial has a survivor who has attended. I'll create the breeze of the energy for your body. I'll give you so much. The offerings that you'll be given are so much that you'll make another Ba from somebody else who died. You'll make their Ba envious. I will create a breeze so that it will not be freezing, so you will make another Ba who is hot envious. He says, I will drink water at the watering place. I will heap up hay, and you will make another Ba who is hungry envious. So I'll have my survivors do so much for you. They'll give you so many offerings, food, incense, fire, everything else, that the other Bas of other dead people, they'll be envious of you, because they'll be like, look at the owner of this Ba. Look at the person who died. His Ba is being lavished with all these offerings, and we're hungry, suffering because this other person died in a negative way. He's trying to make a deal, which of course is foolish, but he's desperate. This is suicidal ideation. Then he says, but if you restrain me from death in this form, you will not find a place on which you can rest in the west. So he's saying, listen, if you don't let me die right now, then when I do finally die and you come back to the physical body after the mummification, nobody's going to bring any offerings. You're not getting anything. So you might as well let me die now, and you'll be praised and you'll be given all kinds of offerings. Then he says, be favorable, my brother. Now he's calling him my brother, trying to, make him feel good. So what will happen? An heir who will make offerings and stand at the tomb shaft on the day of burial will wish a bier or, a burial bed at the necropolis or the city of the deceased, the region of the deceased. So after he makes all these promises, like, listen, if you just let me die, pull me out my body, let me die, I'll make sure that you're given offerings of all kinds of incense, food, everything else you need, so much so that all the other gods of all the other deceased will be jealous. You'll be honored, you'll be praised, you'll get everything. And then he says, my Ba opened his mouth to me that he might answer what I had said. He said, the Ba now says, if you would call burial to mind, it is heartache. It is bringing of tears, making a man sad. It is making a man from his house left on a hill. You cannot come up to see Ra. He's talking about this negative burial. Negative burial. Those who built in granite, who constructed and completed beautiful pyramids in perfect realization. When the builders became Ntoru, their altars were bare, like those of weary ones who are dead on a riverbank for lack of a survivor. After the water has taken its toll, and sunlight as well, the fish of the waterside speak to them. Listen to me, as it is good to listen to people. Have a good time and forget worries. So the first thing he's saying is, listen, you're trying to get to an untimely death. When you get to an untimely death, you can talk all about the things and kinds of offerings that you're going to give and all this other nonsense. But when you meet an untimely death, then none of that is going to happen. And then he gives the example. Even those who were builders in granite, who made perfect pyramids and everything else and wanted to be like the divinities, once they made their transition, if they made a negative transition, all of their altars were bare. There were no offerings for any of them. And they were like the weary ones who died on the riverbank with no survivor to come and pour libation to them and give them offerings and so forth. After the water has taken its toll for somebody who died on the riverbank, and the sunlight as well, the body begins to decompose. The fish of the waterside speak to them. Then their bodies get eaten up by the fish. They don't get mummified and preserved. Mummification is the preservation of the body. The body becomes crystallized. It becomes a shrine. That's the greatest ancestral shrine you can have because it's, of course, the shrine your spirit used to take up residence in. So that mummification process is the crystallization. Literally, the body is crystallized into a crystal, just like people use crystals to transmit energy and so forth, quartz and everything else. Mummification process is the crystallization of a body. So that crystallization or crusting of the body. The term crust or karast in ancient Kamit, when you look at karast and it's talking about the mummy and so forth, this is where you get the term crust, crystal, or crystal and so forth. That is not the origin of the term. Christ, by the way, Heri, Seshta, Heri, chief, he who is above, and Seshta, that which is hidden, secret, or sacred. That is a title of a certain kind of priest. It's also associated with divinities like Heru. Heri, Seshta became corrupted into Heri, Seshta, Heri, Seshtos in Greek, Kerishtos, Christos, and Christ. But it's Heri, Seshta. The other term, and that's H-E-R-I, Heri, and then Seshta. Heri, Seshta, being corrupted into Heri, Seshtos, Heri, Shistos, Keristos, Keristus, and Christ. That's one, it's two separate terms, Heri and Seshta. The other term spelled, and that's H-E-R-I and S-E-S-H-T-A, Seshta. The other term that's often misused, K-R-S-T, Krust or Krast, that people say it means the mummy And then they'll say, well, that's actually karas. That's the term Christ or Christ, and that's what it's talking about. The resurrection has nothing to do with that. Actually, that term krust, K-R-S-T, is the root of the term krust or crust, something being crystallized, crystal, crust, crystallized. It's all, and T is the noun version of it as well, but K-R-S is the root, krust, and then krust. So the krust is also the root of the term curse in English. The whites and their offspring saw death itself as not only a crustation or a crystallization of the body, a hardening of the body, but they also saw it as a curse. That's why they talk about hell and everything else. In our tradition, when we make a transition and we live in harmony with divine order, death is not a curse. The curse, or that body, that crystallization of the body, that's not a curse. That mummification, that crustation, that's not a curse. That becomes an ancestral shrine. That's a sacred thing. It's a divine thing. We love that. So the whites and their offspring can associate death with something divine because they see it as, a curse, something afflicted on somebody, all that kind of negativity. But the body becomes, mummified. When we mummify the body, it's a crystallization of the body. It becomes it becomes an ancestral shrine for the person, the greatest, most powerful ancestral shrine. They're talking about here, the Bible was saying that even those who wanted to become like deities when they were building in granite, building pyramids and everything else, if they were living on a harmony order when they made their transition, their altars were bare. There were no offerings. They died like those who were weary ones who died on a riverbank, had no survivor. The water took its toll on the body. The sunlight took its toll on the body. The fish of the water side, after the water and sunlight took the toll on the body and caused it to decompose, then the fish of the water side began to speak to them, meaning they began to be consumed by the fish. So you're going to be the same way if you live out of harmony with order and die early, try to take your life. You're not going to have a bunch of offerings for me. You're not going to have a bunch of praise for me. You're not going to have incense or anything else for me. You're going to have a bare altar, and you're going to have a rotting corpse. That's what's going to happen. Then he says, have a good time and forget worries. Then he gives an example of a story, like a parable. A commoner cultivates his plot. He loads his harvest into a boat and tows the transport as his feast is near, and he sees the darkness of a north wind arise. He waits for a boat as the sun sets and rises, and meanwhile his wife and children perish in a pond surrounded at night by crocodiles. At last he sits down and argues, I do not weep for that mother for whom there is no escape from the west for another term on earth, but I will grieve for her children who were crushed in the egg, meaning in the womb, who saw the face of Kinti, the great spirit of the west, before they had lived. So what he's saying is he gave a story. This is the Ba giving the story to the man. He's saying there was a commoner who, farming or whatever, him and his wife and his children, there was about to be a feast. They got into the boat. They were about to sell and they loaded the harvest into the boat. They were going to go to this feast. Then all of a sudden there was darkness. The north wind arose. The boat was hit by the wind and the waves and everything. And then they were surrounded at night by crocodiles. And then his wife and his children were eaten by the crocodiles and killed. And when he contemplated on it, he didn't have as much suffering and grief for the wife because he said, well, she is going to the west to be with her ancestresses and ancestors. It was not her fault. She was killed by the crocodiles, but she will be taken care of in the west. He said he did grieve for the children, however, because they were killed and saw the face of death, saw the face of the crocodile before they were even born, meaning before they could even finish their life term on earth, they died. So the man grieved for them. The one that was left behind on earth grieved for them, pointing to the fact that this man is trying to say, look, I'm going to leave before my time, and if I leave before my time, you're going to have all kinds of praise and offering. The Bible tells them, listen, in this story, the only ones that need grief are the ones who left before their time. There's suffering associated with leaving before your time. If you leave at your specific time, or even if you get killed and you weren't trying to kill yourself, but the woman got eaten by crocodiles, wasn't her fault. She goes to the ancestral realm and she's going to be taken care of. She didn't leave before her time per se. She didn't cause that. The children that were killed within the egg, they hadn't even come out of the, lived their life yet, and they get killed. He's saying, listen, that's not a healthy situation. If you leave before your time, that is not a healthy situation. Then he gives another example, but the text is kind of garbled here. And there's a lot of missing pieces in this second one, and it's talking about a commoner. He gives another parable, basically. A commoner asks for dinner. His wife says to him something. The text, it will be supper. He goes outside, and there's something missing until the moment that he returns to his house. He is like another man with a different disposition. His wife pleads with him, but he can't hear her after he has, and then there's something else. And it looks like, and then it says incapable of communication. So it looks like the man was raging at his wife, and he couldn't hear her because he was so upset. It was just a great deal of negativity. But that part of the text was garbled. That part of the parable was garbled, damaged. So the man responds after the Ba gives him these different scenarios. I opened my mouth to my Ba that I might answer what he had said. And before we get to that section, now he's going to give all the different things that he's suffering about, that he believes are the cause of his suffering. Before we get to that, 10:52. So we have 8 minutes left on the live stream of the broadcast on the, on the internet. So people who are just logged into the internet itself, 7 minutes now, less than 7 minutes, then it'll be cut off. If you're on the phone line, though, you can listen through all the way past 11 o'clock. We'll probably go a few minutes past 11 to finish this piece. So if you want to listen past 11 o'clock, like to 11:05, 11:10 or whatever, you must call in within the next 6 minutes. If you don't call in 6 minutes and you're just on the internet, it'll automatically cut off. You want to listen on the phone, and you can hit the number 1 and you can ask questions while you're listening on the phone as well. Call 657-383-0635. 657-383-0635. You have about less than 6 minutes to call in. All right. Before we finish that section, I want to make sure I didn't miss any comments in the chat room right quick. Okay, I missed that one. Okay, somebody put that message out there. All right, cool. All right, so we got that part. So they're dialogue, and the Ba is showing the individual. Of course, this is the person's Ba. So he's letting them know, listen, I'm a child of Ra and Ra'at. I'm a messenger of Ra and Ra'at that dwells within you during your life, giving you your divine life energy. I link you to Ra and Ra'at. I know what I'm talking about. So if you leave before your time, you're going to suffer. If you leave before your time, you won't go to the ancestral realm. You'll actually be stuck as a discarnate spirit, and other criminal spirits will say, I will take you, I'll control you. So if you think you're going to commit suicide and everything's going to be all right, you're going to increase your suffering tenfold or more, and it's going to be perpetual, not just for a few years or for possibly centuries with no escape. So now the Ba gives him those parables, those examples, and then the person responds to the Ba. Remember, we talked about the Ba mentioned to him, if when you are dead and your name still lives, meaning you have a good name, then that is attractive to the heart. and that becomes a resting place that is attractive to the heart. Now, listen to what the man says in response to the Ba. Let me get to this point real quick. So then he says, I opened my mouth to my Ba, that I might answer what he had said. My name reeks through you, more than the smell of bird droppings on summer days when the sky is hot. Of course, the man is getting mad now. My name reeks through you, a haul of catfish on a fishing day when the sky is hot. And, of course, that stinks when there's dead fish and the sky is hot. And we're not just talking about any kind of hot, but we're talking about in Kamit where it rarely rains. It's very hot, desert right outside of the landmass and so forth. And, of course, when we're talking about the Ba operating through the circulatory system, seated in the heart, and then we talk about ancient Kamit, we talk about the black land and the red land. You need to understand that's not just the topography of ancient Kamit. We talked about the Ka yesterday, the Kra, the soul divine consciousness, operating through the melanin, the black substance of space, and that black substance is within your body, all throughout your body, melanin, abatum. It crests in the neuromelanin in the brain. Of course, when you were a zygote, it was all in the same space, and then your body stretched out, so it's stretched out as well. But it crests, its apex is in the brain, the neuromelanin, and that's why that's the seat of the crop. But that black substance you have carrying the electromagnetic energy within your body, that magnetism in your body. And then you have the circulatory system, which of course carries the blood, which carries that electric energy, that fire energy in the body as well. So just like Kamit and Kanit is the black land and the red land, Kamit and Deshirt, the black body of Abatum in your body is the black land, and the blood vessels are the red land in your body, the Deshirt in your body. So you have the red land and the black land operating through your body as well. This time we're talking about the red land, the red clay with the iron ore inside the red clay and all of that. And, of course, they use red ochre, the iron inside the iron ore, the red ochre, to use that to put on their faces and hair and things like that, like the Maasai people, other people in East AFURAKA, AFURAITKAIT, but also in ancient Kamit and Kanit. So the red land is the blood vessels, the circulatory system, the black land. Kamit is the abatum in the body. Okay, and again, you have 90 seconds to call in. 657-383-0635. All right. Yes, and this is what we're reading from now is that link that you just posted, that's a dispute. That's what we're reading from right now. All right, so he says, my name reeks through you more bird droppings on summer days when the sky is hot. So the man is saying, no, I don't have a good name. I'm out of harmony. In fact, my name reeks. It stinks. My name reeks through you more than, or like a haul of catfish on a fishing day when the sky is hot. My name reeks through you more than the smell of ducks, more than a covert of reeds full of fowl. My name reeks through you more than the smell of fishermen, more than the creeks of marshes they have fished. My name reeks through you more than the smell of crocodile, more than sitting on sandbanks of crocodiles. My name reeks through you more than the smell of a wife about whom a lie has been told involving a man. My name reeks through you more than a diligent child about whom it said belongs to his rival. Meaning a person has a bad name when they have a child that's diligent, but they say, well, that child is somebody else's child because your child isn't diligent and honorable like that. And that gives the person a bad name. My name reeks through you, city of a sovereign that conspires to rebel when his back is turned. So all these things are examples of people who have bad names, whether they're rulers or fathers or husbands or whatever. Then he says, whom can I talk to today? And this gets into the lamentation or the reasons behind his suicidal ideation. Brothers are evil and friends of today don't love each other. And this is something to pay attention to for those who have been having these suicidal ideations themselves, even the people who claim to be in culture but have been misinformed regarding culture. And until tonight, didn't know anything about the Ba, the divine living spirit that dwells within you, that can empower you if you align with it. And that's the basis of even, the replenishment of harmony, which is a manifestation of joy and so forth. Until you got that information, you didn't know about it. So even wearing the, veil of culture, but under the veil, you're suicidal, which many of people are, depressed, anxious, suicidal, angry, and so forth. But on the surface, talking about revolution, getting involved in the culture, trying to get other people involved in the culture, but yet they're depressed all the time. The White Nile Spring can see through that, by the way. If you didn't know, there are telltale signs of people who are depressed, even the ones with the most charismatic, gung-ho, revolution, red, black, and green, talking about the culture and everything else, but when they get home, they're depressed. They really don't believe there's going to be any revolution. They don't see anything way out. They think the White Nile Spring have everything on lockdown, but they're too embarrassed to admit that. So they just continue with teaching people revolution and so forth and stirring people up. But in reality, they're depressed and they're actually suicidal. The White Nile Spring can smell that on a person a mile away. They can see right through the paper revolutionaries and the people who really deep down inside are depressed. And it's easy, and they typically promote those kind of individuals in different ways. Through their agents and their proxies in the community, they promote them because they know deep down inside they really fear the cracker and don't really believe that the cracker can be defeated. But they're too embarrassed, so they're not going to say that. So they live lives of pseudo-feigned revolution until, 10 years in, 15 years in, 20 years in, that black nationalist fatigue syndrome sets in, and then they start making all kinds of rationalizations about why we shouldn't hate the White Nile Spring, and they've gotten to a new phase now. They're beyond hate now, and they're beyond rage, and rage is just going to hurt you, and hate is going to burn you up, and you need all of that nonsense, because deep down inside they fear the White Nile Spring. So they start rationalizing idiocy to try to overcome the fact that deep down inside they fear them, and they'd rather join them than be destroyed by them. But even when they join them, they get destroyed by them anyway. So individuals who are going through that right now, at least now you're getting real information about the Ba. When you align with your Ba, you can overcome those things easily. Don't let the White Nile Spring teach you need medication and therapy and all this other nonsense. That's all to control you and keep you steeped in that nonsense. You can easily overcome these things by connecting with your own Ba. So, but when you pay attention to the way, the reasonings, why he's talking about what he's talking about and why he's suicidal, and what things were going on in Kamit at the time, and the disintegration of the society, and the fracturing of the society, you see the exact same things happening now, and they're affecting some of our people in the same fashion. But it's also a gateway to overcome that at the same time. So the man is saying to his Ba, who can I talk to today? Brothers are evil and friends of today don't love each other. Whom can I talk to today? Hearts are greedy and every man is stealing things from his fellow. Kindness has vanished and rudeness has descended upon everyone. Remember, this is 4,000 years ago. Whom can I talk to today? One is contented with evil, and goodness is cast on the ground everywhere. Whom can I talk to today? Who should enrage a man by his ill deed, makes everyone laugh by his evil wrongdoing. They just laugh at evil. Back in the day, they didn't laugh at evil. It was rejected. But now people do criminality, and people just laugh. Whom can I talk to today? One steals, every man is robbing his fellow. Whom can I talk to today? The villain is an intimate friend, and the brother with whom one dealt has become an enemy. Whom can I talk to today? We're talking about, turncoats, sellouts, and everything else. Whom can I talk to today? Yesterday is not remembered, meaning the way of the ancestresses and ancestors. One does not help now who has given help. Those who gave you help in the past, now you won't help them. Whom can I talk to today? Brothers are evil, and one turns to strangers for honesty. Whom can I talk to today? Faces are blank. Every man has his face downcast concerning his brothers. Whom can I talk to today? Hearts have become greedy, and there is no man's heart on which one may rely. Whom can I talk to today? None are righteous, and the land is left to evildoers. Whom can I talk to today? An intimate friend is lacking, and one turns to a stranger to complain to. Whom can I talk to today? None is content there, and he with whom one walked is no more. Whom can I talk to today? I am laden with misery for lack of an intimate friend. Whom can I talk to today? When they say laden with misery for lack of an intimate friend, they have no one to confide in. They believe. But when you understand what your ba is, you know that's not true. Whom can I talk to today? The evil that scourges the earth is without end. Death is in my sight today, a cure of a sick man like going outside after confinement. Death is in my sight today like the smell of myrrh, the beautiful smell of myrrh, like sitting under a sail on a windy day. Death is in my sight today like the smell of lotus flowers, like sitting on the shore of drunkenness. Death is in my sight today like a path washed by rain, like a man coming home from an expedition. Death is in my sight today like the skies clearing, like a man's grasping thereby what he didn't know before. Death is in my sight today like a man's longing to see home after he has spent many years in captivity. But who is there is a God or a deity who lives because of punishing the evil of one who doesn't. But who is there stands in a bark because of letting its choice offerings be given to the temple. But who is there is a wise man who cannot be turned away because of appealing to Ra, following his word. Then his soul said, his ba spirit said to him, he says, my ba said to me, put whining on a peg or on a wood pile, O my comrade, my brother. May you give offerings upon a brazier, meaning a fiery shrine, a burner, in order to reach for a life as you describe. Desire me here and dismiss the west. But desire to reach the west when your body is buried. I will alight when you become weary, and then we'll make harbor together. And then it says, this was copied from start to finish as found in writing. So after that whole list of things that he said, negative things happening in society, he has nobody to turn to and everything else. And then he starts talking about how beautiful death appears to him and it's in his sight. And once he dies, and Ra's going to be there, and Ra's going to be standing in the bark, and choice offerings are going to be given to the temple, and he's going to be like a wise man. He's not going to be able to be turned away from the ancestral realm because death is just going to do all this for him. Then the Ba says, finally the Ba, after negotiating, giving parables and examples and everything else, the Ba turns to him, the divine living energy that actually dwells within him, says, put whining on a peg or wood pile, put it away. May you give offerings upon a burner in order to reach for a light as you described. Give offerings on a brazier. The brazier is a burner. That's just a title for a burner, like an incense burner, the same kind of incense burners you would see with a little bowl of incense burning in front of the symbol for the Ba bird. He said, put the whining away and give some offerings on a burner, the brazier, a burner, in order to reach for a life you describe. Make an offering, get in harmony with this divine living energy, which is me, that's within you. And then he says, and you will reach for that life you have described. Then he says, desire me here and dismiss the west, meaning dismiss this notion of death right now. Desire me here. Don't desire me in the ancestral realm and want to kill yourself and think I'm going to return and reconnect with you once you transition, because I will not. So put all the whining away, put that nonsense away, because even if you kill yourself or you die early, you're going to suffer even worse. So just, there's nothing you can do. Put all the whining away And instead of talking about all the things you want to happen and how beautiful you want things to be, make an offering, get in harmony with this divine fusion of energy that's already assigned to you, even if you don't know it, if you're not focused on it. Get in harmony with that, and you'll be in harmony with Ra, and desire me here, now, and dismiss the West. Desire to reach the West when your body is buried, when you've made your transition at the right time. And when that happens, then I will alight. You know, the spirit bird will fly down, alight upon the spirit body of the person. I will alight when you become weary, and then we'll make a harbor together. Then we'll go to the ancestral realm together in harmony at the right time. So that's the end of the text. Okay. One question. Yeah, in the OKRAA complex book, that's what we were talking about, the activation of the Ba. That's in the middle of the OKRAA complex book, The Soul of Akanfo, and that's on NHOMA page on our website. You can download that book or get the softcover version as well. I'll put the link back up here. Okay. All right. So we wanted to go through that text. Some people came in a little bit later. The first part of the broadcast, we were talking about the nature of the Ba, the Ba'et. So we went into detail about that and talked about the properties of that spiritual entity that dwells within you, seated in the heart region, that divine living energy, a conscious spirit that you can direct to different parts of your spirit body to affect and stimulate the energy within the shrines of your body. The organs and organ systems are the physical shrines of the abosom of the Orisha in your body, that divine living energy that's circulating throughout your whole system. The Ba is a child of Ra and Ra'et, and through that energy you can connect with the great Ba and Ba'et, which is the creator, creatress, Ra and Ra'et, and so forth. So we went into detail about that. Then we went into the text, and as you can see, there's a different orientation now. This person, number one, is talking about suicide that's directly related to what our people are going through right now. People who are not involved in traditional culture or anything cultural at all, as well as people who are, quote-unquote, involved in culture. They've been getting misinformation from so-called priests, priestesses, and so forth. So you have people who are Baba Lorishas, Iya Lorishas, Baba Laos, Iya Nifas, people who are Akanfo, Abosomfo, different kinds of priests and priestesses in the Akhan tradition, people who are Bokonon, people who are, involved in the Congo tradition and Gangas and so forth, various kinds of initiations, elders and elderesses and so forth. Then you get into conversations with their initiating people, teaching all the time and doing always on the internet and always pumping people up about culture. Get into conversations with them, and they're depressed, and some of them are on depression medication. Some of them are depressed, anxious, having panic attacks, all kinds of things. Of course, they don't tell their followers about that typically. Some of the honest ones will, but many of them will not. But yet they're constantly in the public arena trying to pull people into a culture. Deep down inside, they don't think that the culture can even serve their own needs, and they're depressed. They have to go outside the culture, they believe, to get some corrupt pseudo-pharmaceutical medication to keep them balanced. But that's internally, that's hidden. But externally, they're constantly drawing people, encouraging them to embrace the quote-unquote culture. They're pulling people into something that they themselves do not fully embrace. And typically it's because they fully do not understand it, because they've been given misinformation from brainwashed or corrupt so-called elders and elderesses who themselves are depressed, misguided, and so forth, but they're making money, trying to make money, trying to get money and other things out of people, prestige and honor and pseudo-honor and everything else. So this is one text that deals with not only the breakdown of society, how it affects an individual, it also shows things that are happening in our society right now, in our communities right now, but it also gives you a proper view of the way your Ba views, quote-unquote, suicide or self-destructive thoughts, intentions, and actions. It will show you different things, show you why it's ignorant, give you various examples about why it's ignorant, why it's self-destructive, what can happen if you keep going in that direction, if you get out of alignment with your Ba and your energy becomes disjointed. But then at the end of the day, it will tell you to stop whining, get connected with it, which is the energy that you were assigned to so that you can execute your function in the world. So, we're going to end it here. We'll be back on tomorrow for Egua Marketplace. We'll be sending out a notification for that. Also, like we said before, like yesterday we had Akanfo Nanasom, Ancient Authentic Akhan, Ancestral Religion, and we started a series on spiritual organs. We did the first spiritual organ, which is the Ka, the Kayet, the OKRAA. We'll be going through various ones, including the Ba, the Bayat, the Akhu, and so forth. So we're going to get into all of that. Next week we'll have another one. So, of course, check out the website. For those who are not on our Ning site, we have a Ning network, which is a private network. You can join it similar to Facebook and stuff. It's a private network we own. People are studying the same information, AFURAKA-AFURAITKAIT.ning.com. Check that out. You can join it, create a profile. There are discussions, videos are posted, blogs, different things, information, people interacting from around the world, here and around the world, who are dealing with the same, studying the same information. Right, so you said, you've got a message saying that sounds like renouncing immaturity, the article on the Ning site. Absolutely. Okay, and Merase. Enna Merase. Yeniasera. Okay. So we'll be back on tomorrow. Check out our Akanfo Nanasom Facebook group on Facebook. Of course, you can join that. Also, for those who have not done so yet, again, we have our 13 soft cover publications, which range between $8 and $11. Please support those just by going to the NHOMA site, Odwirafo.com/NHOMA, the publications page. Some people, over the past week, we had a number of people who took part in that sale that we had, that discount, got the entire 13-book set. People have been pleased with the 13 books, like a set of encyclopedias on ancestral religion, culture, nation building. So, of course, we have the 30% discount for anybody who orders the entire 13-book set. And please do so. Support our work if you value the work that we're putting in. We also have if you order any 10 books, they're 30% off as well. So you can get 10 books for $66, which is basically $6.60 per book, or the entire 13-book set for $6.60 per book. So, and that's a permanent option. You can go to the website now and get that option very simply. And please share the information with your Facebook contacts or your other contacts, people who are interested in this kind of information. Of course, the PDF ebook versions of our texts are free, so even if people are kind of wary about ancestral religion and culture, they can access the free books first. And once they get the real information and realize what they've been taught negatively about the culture is not true, then they'll be open to really studying. So you can show them, hey, you don't have to buy anything up front. These books are free. You can read them at your leisure. And some of those individuals begin to spread the information as well. Okay, and one person said, I wish the $50 sale coincided with my pay week. Okay, so for the people who missed that, and we had a few individuals who missed it, so just, we didn't take the button down yet, so if you had missed it and you had wanted to take advantage of it, we were going to take the button off yesterday off the site, but we left it on, so you can still access that. When you go to the NHOMA page, when you scroll down through the link, like you go to the NHOMA page, it says publications. It's like a paragraph and a half or something talking about our publications. And then there are 3 different buttons. The regular buttons where you can click and, choose a book or whatever, 1 or 2 or whatever it is. But then there's one that says a 10-book set, $66, 30% off. 13-book set, $86, which is 30% off. Normally it's $123, but it's $86. But then it says 1-day sale, 13-book set, $50. That specific button is still on the site, so you can still access it, because I know some people missed the sale. And if you wanted to still access that, you can still do that. It's still up. And Medase, we thank you for your support. And please share that as well with your contacts as well, so we can get this information out. And then also, you'll see on that page that we have that option if people want to distribute and sell the books themselves, or, to generate money for themselves. You can do that as well. There's a video talking about that, as well as a distribution document, Quadrico distributor information document, with a breakdown of the wholesale prices and the retail. And people just basically purchase some books from us wholesale, and when they're at work, on the train, on the bus, engaging with people in their area, people see those books, they say, where did you get it from? And then they say, well, I have some. They're only $8, $9, $10, $11, and people buy them directly from you, and you can generate money while you're spreading accurate information at the same time. So the video for that distribution piece is on that same page. The distribution document with the details is on the same page, as well as the buttons for the $50 special. So it's still there. And again, Yedase, we thank you, and we will connect tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, for Egua Marketplace. Yebeshe Abio, we will meet again.